have to find the thing that you really want and develop a burning desire. It's like building a fire. If you say, well, I'm going to build a fire, and you take a match and the first kindling goes out and you quit, it's never going to be anything.
Welcome to another just incredible edition of Living Boldly with Purpose. And I'm Dr. B. I'm your host today. When we think about success leaving clues, and we think about things that we can do as human beings to better our lives, to better our experience and fulfillment in the things that we do, sometimes we just come across people that can lighten up your day, that can make an impact, that can help us think and not just do. Dennis, I'm working on a book right now. It's called Be, Do, Have. And it's kind of a success principle that goes into becoming the person that you need to be before you go start doing stuff and trying to have stuff. Because I think we do it so backwards sometimes. We got, I got to have this. I got to have this. So that means I got to go do all these things because somebody told me that I got to go do all this stuff in order, in order to have the things. And now I can hopefully become the person. And when you don't do that, and you're not living in purpose, and you're not living what I would say, where God would have us to be, and maybe as you're telling your story and you're talking to us, you can kind of address, can you live in purpose? And can you make an impact? And can you have inspiration if you're not serving others? And how much it is to just go do it. Because to me, I don't know if you can. I think there has to be a way where you're giving back to the world so people can think. Because I think we got to a spot now where we just don't think anymore. We just do so many things. Like I'm struggling with this education versus entertainment, because I see all these people that are looking at these reels on social media all day long so they can be numbed and so that they can be entertained, or the entertainment stops them from the reality of their real life or the lives that they have. And it just mind boggles to me that I can go to a restaurant or I can go to an event where families or, folks that are in community with each other all are on devices talking to a different community, when you get the opportunity to be in community with people. And I just don't know how do you make an impact if all you're doing is on reels. And so I've asked Dennis today to spend some time sharing not only about the book, but I want him to tell a story. Where he came from. I know where he lives now in the great country of Texas, because it is big enough to be a country. He came from the South and has written some beautiful stuff that we're going to want to hear. But I want to know how it all transpired, so he became the man that he is now, in order to write the book that can hopefully make a difference in your life. And so, Dennis, go ahead and tell us your story, and then we'll kind of chop it up about some of those concepts right when we're done.
Great, Dr. B. Well, first of all, let me say thank you very much for having me today. It's an honor to be on your program. And my background is, when I graduated college, I became a band director. And I really enjoyed being a band director, but I wanted to be a college band director. The high school scene was okay, but college kids are so much more anxious to do a good job. They're a little bit more mature, they're smarter, and they don't have parents that are always finding you doing the things a different way than they want you to do. So after I was a high school band director, my band went to the Rose Bowl parade. So I got some attention. That's a big thing. And I completed my master's degree because you had to have a higher degree. So Georgia Tech came and said, we want you to be the band director at Georgia Tech in Atlanta. And I thought, wow, that's really great. Here I'm a young guy, 27 years old, and get to be a college band director. So I moved to Atlanta, and they prepared the contract. And the day before I was to sign the contract, I was visiting with a friend. I wasn't living there yet. I was visiting with a friend, and the phone rang. Well, back then it wasn't a cell phone. The phone was connected to the wall. There was just one phone in the house, and it was on the wall. So he picked the phone up and said, "Hello," and he got this really strange look on his face. And he said, "Dennis, this is for you." And I thought, who even knows I'm in Atlanta? That's really strange. So it was a company that had contacted my mother and found out where I was. And they said, "Well, we want you to come to Memphis. We want you to interview for a position here." And I said, "Well, I've got the dream job. I'm not interested."
Mm-hmm.
So then he said, "Well, we'll give you a round trip ticket. We'll give you an airline ticket, round trip ticket. We'll buy you a steak. We'll pick you up in a limousine. We'll give you a big cigar." Well, I don't smoke, and I could have gotten a steak in Atlanta.
Of course.
In 1975, a young guy like me hadn't flown very much.
Yes.
And a round trip ticket sounded like that's going to be fun. We picked up in a limousine. That'll be fun. And I can tell them no there and still come back and be the band director. So,
well, you're going to, you said Nashville, right? Or Memphis. You're going to Memphis. So still music. You're doing music, and you can kind of see the music scene there too, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I went to the Atlanta airport, caught a plane, went to Memphis. They picked me up in a limousine. They took me to the beautiful facility. That night they bought me a steak and offered me the biggest cigar I'd ever seen. I mean, it was big. It was like this long and really big around. It was a Cuban cigar. My goodness. But I didn't smoke, so I turned that one down. So the next day they set me down and we started to talk money. Dr. B, they offered me 20 times the salary that Georgia Tech offered me.
Oh, God.
20, and I was a young kid, and I'd grown up poor, never had any money. I saw in the parking lot of that facility where there must have been 50 Mercedes Benz. Well, back then, I was making $8,000 as a band director, which was really good. But those Mercedes Benz cost $40,000 back in '75. Right now, they probably cost $150,000. I mean, that was, and I thought, my God, how do they afford all that? And then I found out those are the guys that have the same job that I'm getting. And I thought, oh my goodness. So anyway, I took it. I said, okay, I'll take the job. Well, the first thing they did, they gave me 3 books. They gave me Success, the Glenn Bland Method.
Okay.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
Yes.
Yeah, they said, before you come back for our meeting, read those books. Well, Dr. B, when I read those books, I was a different person when I put those books down than when I picked them up. Those books filled me with enthusiasm and motivation. They just changed the direction of my life. I could not wait to get in front of a prospect. And the truth is, I made more on my first day in sales than I made in a month as a high school band director. I mean, that was just the first day. And I went on, I made so much money. I bought a house. I bought a Mercedes Benz. and I got married. So that got me off to a pretty good start. So when I went back to the facility, the vice president, Jack McConico, he said, you're Dennis Henson, you're new. I said, yeah, that's right. He said, come into my office. I want to talk with you. So we went into his office and he started telling me, he'd just given me these books. And he started telling me about there's these laws that affect everything we do. And if you work within these laws, everything's going to be easy. You'll make a lot of money. People will respect you. Everything's going to work really well. But if you work against these laws, it's going to be tough. You're not going to be able to do the things you want to do, and you're going to find yourself struggling for the rest of your life. So I said, stop, Jack, stop. He said, what? He said, why do you want me to stop? I said, I'm sold. Give me that book. I'm ready for that book. Where's that book? The laws of nature. And he laughed and he said, no, Dennis, it's not in one book. It's a life search. You have to go read lots of books and study. So when I left his office that day, I thought, it's sad that there's not that book.
Yeah.
That needs to be. So I determined in 1975 that I was going to write that book. Now here it is, 2025, 50 years later, and I should have the book out this year. And I've been working on it for 50 years. So, but when it comes out, I think it's going to be well received. I've gotten lots of people that have interest in it. But how did we get to where we are right now with the book I'm talking about? Over the years, I found out that real estate investing was something that I really wanted to do. I would watch Carlton Sheets on TV, I would read books and so forth, and I thought, boy, that would really be great to be able to buy homes and rent them out and have money coming in, whether you're working or not. I thought, oh, that'd be wonderful. So I went into real estate investing, and I moved to Texas 30 years ago. So when I moved to Texas, I moved to Arlington. There wasn't a real estate investing group in Arlington. There was one in Fort Worth, and there was a bunch of them in Dallas, but they were all like an hour away or an hour and a half away. Well, I was working really hard, long hours, and I didn't have time to take 3 hours out of my week. So I thought, well, why don't I start a real estate group in Arlington? So I started the AREA in Arlington, and it took off. It was really great. We had a large group. A lot of people came. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get really good at this real estate investing, I need to learn by teaching. So I thought, every time I hear of an advanced technique, I'm going to set up a class and teach that advanced technique. So I called it Elite Meetings, and I charged to get in. So I taught short sales and subject to and private money, any kind of advanced real estate. Mm-hmm. So people would come and they would pay. And the truth is, when I scheduled the meeting, I didn't know anything about notes or short sales.
Yeah, you had to learn it to teach it.
And it forced me to really, really get in there and develop the slides and be able to answer the questions. So I learned a lot about real estate investing. So one day, one of the members came up. His name was Mike Chase, and he said, Dennis, I've watched you invest. I've come to your meetings, and I'm retiring in about a month, and you're going to teach me what you do individually. And I said, Mike, I really don't have time. I got my real estate business. I'm running these meetings. I just don't have time to teach. And he said, well, you didn't understand what I said. I said, in about 3 weeks, I'm going to retire, and you're going to teach me, how to do this. So he said, let me take you to dinner and let's discuss it. I said, okay. So I told Norma, my wife, right before I left, I said, I'm going to tell Mike I'm not going to do this. I don't have any interest in it. It's just not what, the direction I want to go. So we went out and he bought my dinner. And after dinner, he had a coat on like this. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a checkbook. Over the table, he handed me the checkbook and he said, here, fill this out. And I said, do you mean the amount? And he said, yes. And I thought, okay, I'll fix him. I'll put an amount here that nobody would pay. If he'll pay this, I'll stop real estate investing and teaching. And so I put it down and I handed him the checkbook back. Without even looking at the number, he tore the check out, signed it, and handed it back to me. That's when I started teaching.
That doesn't happen in real life.
It really happens. Yes. Yeah, you can go to YouTube and look up Dennis Henson and scroll down and find the Mike Chase testimonial. Uh-huh. And he was my first student, and he left a testimonial there, and it's been like 15, 16, 20 years ago, but it's still up on YouTube. So that's absolutely the truth. And so I started taking in students, and I thought, well, if they're going to give me this kind of money, I better have a really really powerful course. And I did. And they started becoming super successful. I mean, my students were so successful that I got a reputation for being a great coach, and more and more and more students came over the years. I taught more than 400 students at a pretty good, sizable amount. So one day, because I was so good at teaching, I got to go to expos to speak. I got invited to different real estate groups. One day on a podcast, the host said, "Dennis, what makes your students so successful? I mean, there's all kinds of teachers out here, but boy, your students just go wild. Why are they so successful?" And I said, "Well, I have them change their habits. If they change their habits to success habits, they can't fail." And he said, "Okay, what's the number one habit? Can you share that with my audience?" And I said, "Sure." They need to form the habit of reading something positive every day that leads them toward their goal. Now, their goal doesn't have to be real estate investing. It could be being an attorney. It could be being a doctor or a nurse or an engineer. It doesn't matter what it is. If you read something every day that's motivational and educational and inspirational, that leads you toward your goal, then that's the shortest distance from where you are to where you want to be. So after the podcast, I thought, that was really the right answer. Wouldn't it be great if there were a tool, something to help people form the habit of reading something positive every day? And it hit me. Dennis, for almost 50 years, you've been collecting motivational books, self-help books, the best of the very best, and poems and quotes. And so short stories and long stories, you can take all of these and put them in a book, and then people can form the habit without worrying about the time limitations. So, if they have 5 minutes, they read a poem. If they're waiting at the airport on a plane, they can read a short story or even an accompanying book. But if they get home and they forgot to do their reading that day, and they're hit the bed and they say, "Oh, I forgot to read," flip over to the back of the book and read one of the quotes, and you've got your reading for the day. So it makes it really easy to get over that hump, to form that habit. And Dr. B, that the trick is this. I heard you say this as earlier in the podcast. Before they can form a habit of reading something positive every day to get them to where they want to be, they have to decide where they want to be. And that's big. I mean, that's really big, because most people are walking around wondering, well, why am I here? What is it I'm supposed to be doing on this earth? Yeah. Well, the truth is, the answer to that question is called desires. When you get a desire, you think, "Oh, wow, I'd love to do this. That would be so much fun. Like I wanted to be a college band director. Oh, that's what I really want to do." And then your butt gets in the way.
Yeah.
But I don't have the money. But I don't have the education.
Yes.
I don't have the contact. So you got to get your butt out of the way and go after whatever it is that you want to do. And so that's my story. That's how the book got written. I thought it's going to take me a couple of months. I have all the material. It took 6 years.
Took 6 years to put this together, which is now. When I'm thinking about the book and I'm thinking about all these inspirational, you say you got to read one thing positive every day. Is that enough? Is it enough in this day and age, and as quick as people want stuff, to only do one a day? Or
that's a great question, Dr. B. And the answer to that is this. It's not the quantity of what you read. It's the quality. Back in the 5th century, a group of monks got together and said, "We want to get into the scriptures more. We want to be closer to God, and we want to really get in the scriptures." And they came up with a thing called Lectio Divina, where every day they would take one scripture. They didn't read the whole Bible. They took one scripture, and they would read it silently then they would imagine themselves as part of the scripture doing whatever it said, and then they would read it out loud. And for the rest of the day, they would contemplate what they've read. Now, that's what the 5th century, what is the 20th century? That's, 1,500 years ago.
Yeah.
And that still works. And it's a powerful, powerful thing. But I experienced it with my students. If you plant those little seeds in your mind, they will multiply and grow into massive, massive success or whatever it is that you want. And you can have pretty much anything you want if you can decide this is what I want, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there, and you work every single day toward that purpose. But Dr. B, what happens is the human mind doesn't center on one thing. It goes in 1,000. You wake up every day, and before you have breakfast, you've gone over 1,000 different things. Well, I need to do this. I need to do this. Oh my gosh. And now, my wife wants me to do. And so if you don't have something that repositions you every day moving toward that goal, you get lost, and you'll have another goal and another one and another one. And it's like you plant a garden, and every day you go and say, well, I don't really want peas. You pull up all the peas and plant corn. The next day, oh, I don't want corn. So you can't do that. You need to pick one thing that you really, really have a desire for, get your butts out of the way, and then go after it. And the book, The Real Impact Daily Inspiration, it's like magic. It reminds you every single day that what you're reading in this book can get you closer, or the accompanying reading that you do can get you closer to wherever it is you want. It can just be good health. At one time in my life, I had a serious health problem. I mean, really serious. And when I came out of the hospital, I had a burning desire to get well. I wanted to be able to think clearly. I wanted to be able to see. I wanted to be able to use my arms and my legs. I couldn't walk. I couldn't see. But I was determined that I was going to come back. Well, here I am. I came back. And how did I do that? Well, I read something every single day, or I listened when I was walking every single day about how to get better, how to be healthy, how to live longer, how to make your hair grow, how to have a fulfilling life that you can enjoy with your family and the people that you love because you're healthy. Well, that's a good thing to want. You can have more than one desire, but there needs to be one burning desire, which is, what am I? What do I want to become? How do I want people to feel about me? What do I want to leave when I'm gone? Am I going to leave the world better? Or are they just going to forget I was ever here? Well, I want to leave the world better. I want people 100 years from now to be thinking, well, this Dennis Henson, he had something. He figured out something, and it's still helping people 100 years later.
Yeah. One of the things you've been talking about is finding that one thing and then concentrating on it. And, the monks were able to do it. And what I find when I'm coaching people or talking to people is I'll find the dangling, shiny, object syndrome of this is what I want to do. And then they start doing it and start working on it, and then they see something else. Well, I need to have that. Then they go to do that. And then
Right.
I need to have that. How do you continue to just figure out what that is and stop trying to do a million things that you can't do well?
It's called, there's one word, it's called desire.
Okay.
You have to find the thing that you really want and develop a burning. It's like building a fire. If you say, well, I'm going to build a fire, and you take a match and the first kindling goes out and you quit, well, it's never going to be anything. To build a fire, you've got to work with it and provide oxygen. You've got to continue, and eventually it smokes, and then a little blaze shows up, and then the next thing, then you pour the the wood on it, and it becomes this big thing. Well, that's how you have to develop your own desire. It starts out as just a little flicker, but you have to pour gasoline on it, make it a burning desire, so that when you wake up in the morning, that's the first thing you think about. You can feel when you're successful at doing this thing, you can feel that success. You can smell it. You can feel it. This is really what I want. And let me just tell you a little story, and I can prove this works, because when I was in high school, I was the worst student in the school. My teachers didn't like me. I was fidgeting. I was drumming on the desk. I was, I didn't take my books home. I wasn't interested. I hated school. I didn't want to be there. So the only thing I liked about school was the band. I played the drums, and I liked that. I went to band camp at the University of Alabama and learned about rudiments, and I played the rudiments, and I learned about those. And I wanted to spend the entire day in the band room. I didn't want to go to class, and every chance I got, I didn't go to class.
Yeah.
So one day they came over the intercom and said, well, we're going to have an assembly this afternoon, and everybody come to the auditorium. I thought, oh, that's great. No class. They get to go to the auditorium. So we went to the auditorium. There was a college band there. They played their spring concert. I thought, that's good. I wasn't that much for symphonic music, but that's okay. Then the band director turned around and said, I brought a little treat for you. I bought a marching drum section. They want to put on a little exhibition. Mm-hmm. Those guys got out there on that gym floor, and they played stuff that I never even imagined that could be played. I mean, did you ever see the movie Drumline? Yeah, Drumline. Yeah, it was like that, but it was years before that. I mean, this was back in the 60s. And they were already advanced to that. I mean, they were playing stuff. My mind just exploded. So I went to my band director and I said, look, how can I get in that drum section? And he laughed and he said, Dennis, with your grades, you have to go to college. They're not going to let you in college, not with your grades. And I said, if I change my grades, you think I can get in that drum section? And he says, well, I can tell you for sure, if you don't, you'll never get in. Yeah. So I went from D's and F's to A's and B's.
The desire.
I went and talked to the teachers, and I said, look, I'm going to go to college. And some of those teachers actually laughed out loud in my face. That's how bad a student I was. Wow. Like, you're going to college? Ha, 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 ha. Well, I showed them. I went to college. I became a part of the drum section. I became the section leader. Before I left the school, I was the drum major. And then I went on to get a master's degree. I got my bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree, and I worked on my doctorate, and I got a fellowship from the University of Mississippi to complete my doctorate. But that's when I took that job that paid me 20 times and already had a college band directing job. I didn't read. I didn't need to finish it in my mind. No. So deciding on what you want can make a tremendous difference on what you do and what you're able to accomplish. So if the people listening to this today can just take that in and listen to the desires, you're given the desires. I mean, they come to you all the time, and just don't let your butts get in the way. But I don't have the money. I don't have the friends. But I don't have the connections. But. Just say, I'm not listening to those. Because when I decided I wanted to go to college, my father was a disabled veteran. We had no money, zero, no money at all. Okay. And then, how are you going to pay for the books? How are you going to pay for the food? How are you going to pay for the transportation? And then the room and board, and then you had tuition. Well, none of that bothered me. I was going to be in that drum section. Whatever it took, I started working after school and on the weekends and in the summers. I saved money. I did whatever I had to do to get to where you needed to be. And I'm not special. I wasn't even a good student. Anybody can do this. It just depends on how big a fire you can build under your desire. And I'm writing a book called Burning Desire too. So that's
right. You got a lot of work, a lot of stuff going on.
yeah.
When we think about discipline and the discipline to do the thing and become the person, I guess, who can do that discipline, so many people will get excited. They'll get motivated for a day. They'll say, okay, I'm going to get your book. They're going to read those. They're going to go for 30 days. Distractions, the butts are going to come in their way.
Yeah.
And they haven't really developed that discipline to hit the desire. Is it because they don't believe that desire can come true? Is it and they just, or is it just other distractions or the butts or whatever it is that jump in the way? How do you help somebody develop that discipline? Because only 1% or 2% of our population actually achieve some of these things. There's got to be a reason why.
Well, the reason why is the butts. They let their butts get in the way.
Yep.
But look, if you have a burning desire to do something, nothing can stop you. I mean, you have the exact same thing available to you, your mind, your hands, your feet, you know. There's people that have accomplished things that didn't have hands and feet, that couldn't think clearly, that didn't have the opportunity, that didn't, you know, live in the United States. I mean, so you wouldn't have received the desire had the universe not already put everything in place for you to achieve it. Everything's there for you. I mean, it's you just recognizing, hey, that's a desire, that's a gift. I've got a gift. And if I really want to do this, all I've got to do is take a step in that direction every single day without fail, you know, and do everything I can to achieve this. And it's amazing what you can achieve. Well, I saw it with my students. You know, I had students that had never accumulated anything. They didn't have any money. They were just working for a living. They walked in, they thought this real estate might be fun. I might be able, and all of a sudden they had millions of dollars. I had one guy, he was a retired school teacher and didn't have any money at all. And in 3 months, he became a multimillionaire in 3 months. But it was simple. He just did what I told him to do without question. So the first part of this book, Real Impact Daily Inspiration, is testimonials from my students telling you why you should listen to this guy. And they're powerful. The testimonials are almost as powerful as the stories in the book. But it's true. If you'll follow these directions, in the front of the book, it said how to use this book. You just follow those directions, and it's life-changing. You'll be amazed at what happens to you.
So what I'm hearing is we have to learn how to develop a burning desire. And I love your analogy of the fire, because how many times do we try to build a fire? You know, when I go camping and it's not working and you can't get it, put the wrong kindling under it. But once it gets going, the momentum happens and you can't stop it. It just, as long as you just put a little bit of log on the fire every now and then, you're going to have this massive fire. For the person who time is, you know, we live in a society that wants everything immediately. We want everything right now.
Right.
And some of these, as you develop that burning desire, I mean, I love your story. The guy in 3 months, becomes a millionaire. I don't know how, if it doesn't happen in 3 months for a lot of your students, how do you keep going and knowing, hey, it's not working, and not jump into something else? Oh, it's not working. It's not working. I'm reading a book every day. He told me to read the book every day, and I'm not a millionaire yet, you know.
Well, now, that's not what I said. I didn't say read the book every day. I said something positive every day that leads you toward your goal.
Okay.
That's the key. You have to have that goal. So let me show you. This is the paperback book. Can you see the book?
Yep.
You see the lamp?
Yeah.
You see the lamp on front of it?
Huh?
Okay. Have you ever heard the story of Aladdin?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So he found a lamp and he was cleaning it and then realized it's magic. Oh my God, it's magic. This genie comes out and says, okay, master, you can have anything you want. What is it? You see, that's what this book is about. You have to decide first, what is it you want, or you don't get anything. You know, the genie don't know what you want, you know, only you know.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to figure it out is just think, well, if I could be anything or do anything, and money was no problem, education was no problem, nothing was a problem. If I could just do this, I would do this. Now you've got a flicker. You've got to build that into a burning desire. I mean, so much so that you don't think of anything else, that everything you do is moving you in that direction. Now, Dr. B, here's a law of nature. When you do that and you start moving in that direction, nature starts moving in your direction. Whatever that is that you want starts coming to you. So you're going toward and it's coming to you, which means you're getting there twice as fast or maybe even faster. It may be, you may be amazed at just how quickly you're able to achieve the things you want. You know, if you buy a new car, maybe you buy a new car and you think, oh, I got a car that no one else has this same color. You know, it's a beautiful color. And on the way home, you see 8 cars that's exactly the same color. Well, why did that happen? Well, because your mind is now geared in to looking for that exact thing. Well, when you decide what you want to do, your mind is geared in, and anything that's going to help you get to wherever it is you want to be is going to show up, and it's going to be in neon lights. Oh my God, look at that. And oh, here's this person over here that knows exactly how to do this. Maybe he'll help me. Well, one of the stories in the book is about Walt Disney, and one of his quotes says, you know, there's plenty of people that can tell you what you need to know. All you got to do is go ask them. And you know, look how successful Walt Disney became. And another thing he said is, if you want to know how to get started, he said, quit talking about it and just go get started. I love that quote.
Get started.
Yeah, that's how you get started. You don't talk about it, just go do it.
Just go do it. Yeah. Well, you think about, now you don't even have to go ask him. I mean, Google, you can ask Google all day long if there's something you need to know. So yeah, I love it. Just get started. When you were telling your story, you talked about the laws. Can you give us a couple of those laws that you're putting together that can help us say, oh, this is a law that if I do this, or laws of just how things work? What are those all about?
Well, this book, Real Impact Data Inspiration, is based on what I call an acronym. I live in Arlington, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I used this acronym to help me remember so that I kept on track when I was writing the book. DFW, right? If you come to Dallas, you're going to come to DFW Airport. DFW, and then Arlington, all right? So D stands for desire. F stands for faith. You have to believe that you're going to get there. Henry Ford said, if a fellow believes he can do a thing, he's probably right. If a fellow believes he can't do a thing, he's probably right. Okay, so desire, faith, will. You have to have the will so that when you get knocked down, and you will, you're going to get knocked down and stepped on and disappointed, and people are going to turn their back on you, and people are going to say, I mean, I went to buy a house one time. It was a beautiful home. It was worth $450,000, and I was going to buy it for $165,000. And the day before, the bank called me and said, this was back in 2008 when everything fell apart. They said, you're not getting the loan. You're not getting the loan. And so every day, I still live in that area. Every day when I drive by there, I think I should be living in that house right there. And now it's worth $800,000 now. I would have made a fortune. But you see, that doesn't matter. You know, go find another deal. Right? Things like that happen. You just have to get up and dust your pants off. That's what the people in this book have done. They got knocked down over and over and over. And they're people you know. And you hear their names, you think, well, you mean they were failures? They're so, they're so popular. Everybody knows their name. How did that happen? You read the story and you see, well, they had the will to get up more times than they were knocked down. And then the last one is action. DFW, desire, faith, will, and action. Now, in Ogmandino's book, Greatest Salesman in the World, he said, my dreams are worthless. My plans are dust. Nothing is worthwhile without action. You got to get up and go do it. I mean, it's not going to do itself just because you have a burning desire. You got to get up. You got the burning desire. It's got to get you up out of the bed, on your feet, making phone calls, knocking on doors, talking to people, doing the things, risking your money, doing whatever it takes to get you where you want to be. And you know something, Dr. B, that's the happiest you can possibly be in life when you're headed toward that place that you're supposed to be. You were put here for a reason. Now, whether you do the reason or not is up to you. Yeah. And your reason is it's the desires. The universe says, want this. And you think, oh, yeah, that'd be nice. But and you get letting your butts get in the way again. So you got to get the butts out of the way.
Yeah. You titled your book Real Impact. Why Real Impact? What does that mean?
Well, this book's going to have a real impact on your life.
On your life, okay.
Let's say you have a nephew that's graduating or a niece that's graduating from high school or college, and you think, well, what can I give them? I don't want to spend a fortune. What can I give them that's inexpensive that they'll love? And maybe it'll be something they'll keep. I have a pen set that my Aunt Virginia gave me when I graduated from high school in 1966, and I still have it, okay? When I graduated from college, my Aunt Opal gave me a book that I still have on my bookshelf. So that's the kind of gift you want to give people so that they remember you forever, long after they're gone, long after they're dead. They can still pull this book out and say, my uncle gave me this, or my grandfather gave me this, or my cousin, and they'll appreciate it. And if they use it the way it's outlined, it will change their life for the better. You will have made a big difference in their bank account, the kind of home they live in, the car they drive. You will have made a tremendous difference and had an impact, a real impact on their life. So that's where the name came from.
I love it. So in the last, when you were just talking, you said you graduated, or you got this book when you graduated high school. And so I'm assuming you were born in the late 40s, early 50s.
Yes.
So you're in your 70s now. What keeps you going and continuing to help others achieve when you could just be retired and living life, however it is? What is it that just keeps you excited about getting up every single morning?
Well, I like helping people. And I know I'm 77, 30 years from now, I'll be gone. Okay. I mean, I've accepted it. I probably won't be here 30 years from now, but my book will still be here, and my other books will still be here, and they'll still be helping people. And so that motivates me. I love helping people. I love having an impact on other people, and even just the thoughts of it. If the people in your audience that's watching this right now have read a book that they really liked, it could be any kind of book, they should go to Amazon and go to find that book and go to rate this book and leave it 5 stars and then say, I read this book and I loved it because. Now you've just planted a seed. You have made the day of the author. They're going to read that and they're going to say, oh, man, that's great. I got a 5-star rating and it's made my day. And you're going to help a lot of people who hadn't probably read that book. They'll read your review and they'll say, oh, I think I'll read this. And you will have helped them. Well, now the law of nature says you cannot plant something that doesn't come back to you in multiples. So do wonderful things for people and watch what happens in your life. So, I don't know. I'm motivated. I love living. I love working. I love my office. I love my staff. I really love them. They're my family. I love my family. I love my dogs. I love walking. I love living. I mean, every morning when I wake up, I say, oh man, it's another day. Thank gosh. I'm so happy to be alive and to get to meet people like you and do these. I love these podcasts and the people that I meet on them. So that's what keeps me going.
How do you stay healthy? Like, what are the things? Has it been lifestyle where you say you didn't smoke, so that was good. But what do you do to make sure? Because I think some people don't have any energy, and then you're asking them to, where I say, hey, okay, read this positive thing every day, and they get excited, but then they just don't have any energy to be able to do it. Both physically and I guess mental health too. What do you do to make sure that you're healthy?
Well, I do a lot of things. The number one thing is I walk every day, miles. Every single day I walk, and while I'm walking, I'm on YouTube or listening to podcasts or listening to motivational books, or so I'm learning while I'm walking, and I'm getting to be with my dog. My daughter's here, and she brought her dog, and so I got two dogs, and we all love each other, and that's healthy and fun. And I'm careful with what I eat. I drink water. I drink lots of water. I don't take any sugar or any dairy. I don't take table salt, but I do, I do take Celtic salt, which is much better for you. And you'd have to have another podcast to go over all the things. I take cold showers. I take saunas. I do everything that I possibly can to live a few more days and to keep my mind clear and active, because a lot of people my age couldn't talk to you for an hour.
Exactly.
They couldn't keep their mind. Well, I don't know. You can look at our previous president. See, he had a hard time talking for a sustained period of time, and he's about the same age I am. So, all these things add up, and they work, and you can learn about them. You can learn about them by reading every day. One of the things the book says is you don't have to read about one thing. You can read about health. You can read about your finances. You can read about business. You can read about success. I mean, there's 1,000 things you can read about, but they should all help you move into the direction of your goal. And having good health is one of those things. If you don't have good health, you're not going to reach many goals. You're just going to get old and die. You're going to get sick and be laying in a bed. So being healthy is a pretty important thing.
Yeah, and that's why I asked it, because you think of our health industry that's in our country and all the different things that are out there, and all the little supplements they ask you to take, and you're telling me, hey, get up and walk, and then get up and walk, get up and put something in your mind that's positive every day.
Yeah.
I do like that you control your diet. I mean, I don't know how long it took you, because we are all processed sugars and all that kind of stuff. Was it out of necessity that because I know you said there might have been a health challenge that you started doing this, or was it just, hey, I have this desire to have this lifestyle to live longer, and I just did it? How did that?
Some of my students who were close friends came to me and said, Dennis, we're concerned about your diet. You drink 8 or 10 Dr. Peppers a day. You eat sugar. And you're getting to the age where that's all going to affect you. And I said, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. And then one day, I had a massive stroke.
Oh, okay.
Put me in the hospital. I was blind. I couldn't see. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up. And I just had visions of what people look like after they have a stroke. They just look different. And I said, well, I'm going to change. This was in 2018. I said, I'm going to change. I'm going to do healthy things. I'm not going to, anything that's unhealthy, I'm not going to do it. And so I started studying about everything that I could do that would improved my life, my health, my longevity, the clearness of my mind. And so I've done a 180 turn. I feel better now than I did when I was 50. I really do. I feel great, and I do things with my wife. We travel a lot. We have just a wonderful life. So that's, health is really important, but don't wait till you're in the hospital laying on the bed and you can't get up. Go ahead and change it now so you don't end up there.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because there's so many folks that they think they have to try everything, and in your desire to be healthy, you were able to just do a whole lot at once. Would your suggestion then be, though, but to concentrate on maybe one thing and then add it to, because there's a whole lot of things you do now, but you can't do all those at once. And I think some people, that's why they get burned out so fast. Like, I'm gonna get up in the morning, I'm gonna jump in a cold plunge, then I'm gonna walk 10 miles, then I'm gonna you can't do that.
You can't jump into them all at one time. That cold plunge, we used to go to resorts, and I'd put my toe in there and I go, oh my God. Now I always complain when I go to a resort. I say, this is not cold. It's not cold enough. Everybody else is looking at me. Well, what's wrong with him? But yeah, if you take a cold shower every day and I go outside, it was like 9 degrees yesterday, and I went outside and walked on the concrete with nothing on but my pajamas. So you get your body accustomed to that, and that's really good for you. And also a sauna. If you take a sauna 3 times a week, you're going to live 40% longer. So I put one in my house. When I found that out, that's a big deal. 40% longer is a lot of years. So there's all kinds of things you can learn on YouTube, and you can learn them while you're walking, and it's fun. It makes the walking go by really fast.
Yeah, think how lucky we are now to be able to do that. I know you remember in the 70s and the 80s and before, I guess the cassette tapes, you could try to get a Walkman at some point, the 8-tracks at one point, but no, the information that we have access to, that we can just, not even pay for, right? You pay for your phone and YouTube comes up. Back in the day when you had to get information like that, listening to, a cassette tape, you had to buy that cassette tape. Then you had, and so people just, I think, take for granted that they have access. So much. And we still, I started the show to talk about all the entertainment that we do. You're walking and listening to something that can improve your life. You're not walking and listening. And I'm not saying it's bad to listen to a baseball game every now and then, or to, watch something, a television show or that kind of stuff. But not until you start to get that desire and start achieving some of those dreams, right?
That's right. You see, the desire will guide you. If you have a burning desire, when you pull up the YouTube, when you're walking, you go, what can I play that's going to move me closer to my goal? I've spent 2 years studying about marketing this book, because if it's not marketed, nobody's ever going to know about it. It's not going to help anybody. That's why I'm on this podcast. I'm doing 3 podcasts today. I was supposed to do 4 when I'm canceled. Look, if you have a burning desire, you're going to do whatever it takes to get where you want to be. And if you want to be healthy, that's a great burning desire to have, and it also helps you with any other burning desire. So health is really important. And walking is healthy too. So you're doubling up, you're walking and you're also listening to something. I love to listen to Barbara O'Neill. If you haven't heard her on YouTube, whatever you have, if you got a cold, if you got, just whatever ailment you have, type in Barbara O'Neill and she'll tell you how to fix it.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool. I have not heard her yet. So on my walk, I'm trying to do 3 miles every day. So I will, it gives me an hour that I will be able to put her on. It has been delightful having you on, and it helps me rekindle my desires. I've been thinking of what those are and being specific about them. Tell us, maybe you're in your last thoughts, anything I didn't talk about, how to get a hold of your book, how to get, a hold of whatever it is that you're doing for us, and then maybe any closing thoughts that you would love for our audience to have.
Well, I hope everybody will go to realimpactbook.com. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it says podcast guests. If you will click on that and put your name and email, you'll get the book for free. No strings attached. You'll get the ebook, and you will not be put on an email list. Now, if you want to know when my other books come out, there's a little square there, and you can put, click on that, and I'll let you know. But that's the only email you'll ever get from me is when I have another book, because I don't send out emails that much anymore. But if I'm giving you this book because I want you to read the first part, the introduction and how to use the book, and you're going to see I can change people's lives by giving them this book. I can give a wedding present or a housewarming gift or a holiday gift or graduation. Get 10 of them, and every time it's time to give somebody something, here, take this, and they will remember you forever. If they use it properly, you will have changed their lives, and someday they'll come back to you and say, I'm so glad you gave me this book because it's meant so much. So, I'm giving you more than just the ebook. I'm giving you a gift of knowing how to help people. That's a pretty nice gift.
Oh, that's cool. And I just went onto the website. It's so easy. Realimpactbook.com.
Yes.
And a little genie comes up, the guy from Aladdin, looks like the guy from Aladdin. The first one with Robin Williams in it kind of looks like that genie, not the Will Smith genie.
Dr. B, one more thing.
Oh, please.
Up at the top of the Real Impact book that says help the children. It's right above this month's special. It says help the children. That's a GoFundMe. Every penny that goes in there, those buy books with it to give to small town libraries and disadvantaged communities and schools that don't have big budgets. And I give it to nursing homes and also elderly centers. And I don't get anything from that. I'm just giving the books away. So if you want to help more people, donate $1, $5, $10, how much ever you can. And all of that goes toward helping and getting the word out and helping the children.
That's so neat. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your willingness to serve. And, I love the fact that you could be anywhere right now in the world doing your own thing and just enjoying your retirement in your life, but you've actually decided to spend time not only with us and the other podcasts you're doing today, but just continue to make that real impact in the world. And so if success leaves clues, when I'm at your age and which is not too far away from now, but when I'm there, I can't wait to be as healthy as you are, to be as energetic as you are, and to try to make that real impact that you're making. And so thank you for being on today. Thank you for just gracing us with your presence. Again, go to the book, realimpactbook.com. I'm sure if you send him emails and that kind of stuff from there, Dennis would be happy to respond. So you guys go ahead and hit subscribe. You find many more of these podcasts that are all over there. If this podcast impacted you in any way, share it with somebody. Don't just say this is all the information for me. There is enough information for everybody to be successful. And there's enough room for everybody to be successful and have these amazing lives. You don't have to hoard it yourself. We're not in a world of lack. We're in a world of abundance. All right, so don't forget your God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. And we will talk to you on the next one. Have a great day.